Hi everyone, it's Kim from Art Anthology. Thanks for joining me today. With the holidays right around the corner, it's time to start thinking about our cards, our gift tags, and handmade gifts. And I want to use a brand new stamp from Stamplistic called Sleigh Ride for my projects. And when I make my holiday cards or handmade gifts and even tags, I always have to think, who am I giving these to? How many do I need? And what's the likelihood that someone is going to hang on to them? And that kind of determines what all I want to do on the card. I still want it to look neat, but if it's going to be in the round file after the holiday season, I don't want to spend a ton of time on something that isn't going to be kept. So I'm going to start with my stamp on my Misty, and I'm using archival ink because I'm going to be painting my image with the Art Anthology dimensional paint. And I'm using 110-pound cardstock. See what you have in your stash. This is just plain white cardstock. There's nothing fancy about it, but it will hold the moisture from the paint. So I'm going to stamp out. If I'm going to do a number of these, I like to do it like I'm in a production line. I'll stamp out the quantity that I need for my projects with archival ink, and then I'm going to get set to paint. And I pulled out some colors that I want to use on this, and I'm going to make a traditional colored sleigh. So I pulled out a couple colors. I pulled out ruby, and this is a shine, meaning when it dries, it will have a shiny finish. And I pulled out red velvet, which is a sorbet, which, as we know, has a little bit of sparkle in it. So here's the two different colors that I think would work well for the sleigh. And this time, I think I'm going to use the red velvet with that little bit of sparkle. So I have a couple of paint brushes at the ready here, and I'm not going to use a huge paintbrush, but I want to be able to cover this fairly fast, especially if I have a number of them to do. So I'm just going to start painting, and I want to make this neat. I am going to cut this out. I do know that, but I don't want to have to go around all these little lines. So if I go outside the outer edge of the sleigh, that's fine. It's going to get cut off anyway. And one thing I love about the dimensional paints, they're highly pigmented, but I can see those lines underneath. So I'm just going to take, and again, there's certain parts that I'm going to kind of try to stay away from. And the bells are one because I'm going to paint those a separate color. But all these other lines, I'm just going to go along. And if I go over them a little bit, that's fine. In fact, it probably makes it darker. And just as long as I'm consistent, to me, that's what's the most important thing. Just be consistent with what you're doing. And if I know I'm going to cover something up with bling, I'm just going to paint over that. Because we're going to go back and highlight those lines with a Posca pen. So let me just go around this. And again, if I know I'm doing a number of these, I'm not going to get hung up with perfection. Probably the first couple you try to be so perfect on, and then when you're on your, I don't know, 8th, 9th, or 10th, then you just like, let's just get it done. And this is something, if I were making a number of them, I would just sit and color each color for each, all at once for each stamped image. I wouldn't fully color every one and then go to the next one, fully color every one. I would just do all the red, then move on to the next color. So, and see, I'm just going to cheat and go around that outside line because I know I'm going to cut that off. So no need to worry about staying in the line. Okay. And then let me just go down here and add just a little more to cover that up. And we're working on this with our nose 2 inches away from it. But when somebody receives this and they see it, they're just going to take a quick glance at it and probably move on. Now, if I was doing this for a gift, a handmade gift, I probably would take a little more time, but I'm not going to be making, 10 handmade gifts where it might be reasonable that I would be making 10 gift tags. Okay, so now I'm going to worry about the gifts. I'm not going to worry about all the swirly parts here. I'm going to do that with a Posca pin. So let me move on to the gifts. I'm just going to pick a color. I'm going to use Royal, which is a shine. Again, it will dry shiny. And I'm going to use a little smaller brush. And again, let me just kind of go through all those lines. And then when I go back and add the details with the Posca pins, this will really make it pop. So again, I'm kind of staying away from the bow because I'm going to color that with something else. Let's see, I think I'll do this ball over here, this round present. I'm guessing it's a ball. And then I'll move on to the other gifts. I try to use a somewhat limited number of colors. I didn't want to go too crazy, but I want the gifts to be colorful. So then I also pulled out Shamrock, which is a real pretty green. This is Velvet, which means when it dries, it will have a matte finish. So let me just rinse out my brush here real quick. And we'll paint a couple of these green. And sometimes at the end when I get done, like I see this little white spot there, I could probably just cheat and put green there. But if it really bugged me, I could go back with a little brush and just touch up a few places if they really stick out when I'm all done. But again, I love that the paint is translucent. So I have all this beautiful color, very vibrant. But I can also see all my lines underneath. I'm not covering them up. And then when I go back, I can add some more color and fill in some of the details. Let's see here. I probably maybe could have used that larger brush, but this does give me just a little more control. Okay, and then the last gift, I think I'm going to make that 18 karat gold. This is also sorbet, so it has a little bit of sparkle, but I love it because it's a nice dark gold color. And well, we'll just stay with the small one. I was going to go back to the big one, but we'll just stay with the small one. And the only thing I'm going to avoid there is that jingle bell. And then I'll just color the box part of the gift in. I'm not going to worry about the bow. And again, if I go outside those lines, not a big deal because I'm going to trim that off. All right. And the only other thing I'm going to color with paint, and I'm using silver this time, which is one of the metal effects paint, are the jingle bells. And then this is one where they'll be colored in, and then if I'm doing a gift, Probably actually glue or adhere a jingle bell on there, a small one, but I'm not going to do that on a card or for a gift tag. So let me just go and I'm going to put this in. And the other nice thing is I've pretty much painted everything else smooth, but because this is dimensional, I can build up some of that dimension. So let me just kind of build up a little bit of that paint. I'll just kind of pounce it on there. So if I don't put a little metal bell on there, that will look kind of neat for my recipients. Okay. So I've got that colored in with the paints that I want to use. So nice and colorful, deep, rich color, but again, I can still see those lines in effect. I think they're darker after I paint them. So now for these other parts, this would be very time consuming to try to paint all of this. So I'm going to use a Posca pen. So let me pull those out. And decide kind of what colors I want where. So for the runner of the sleigh, I could do either silver or gold. And same thing here with these little swirlies. I want to make those the same as whatever I'm doing the runner on mine. Now you might want to do something, you know, this one color, one either gold or silver, and the swirly something else. But again, I'm trying to make this as simple as possible because I have a number of them to do. So let me just shake up my Posca pen. I'm using silver and I'm using the one PC3M. So it's a bullet tip, but it also can do a nice fine line. And now the paint pens, as we know, are more opaque. It's like we're coloring in with paint. So I'm going to try to stay in the line, within the line. But if I go out a little bit, it's okay. I'm not going to totally cover up that line. And if I can just keep it kind of in one sweeping motion, that's good. Because again, this could be very time consuming doing these with a paintbrush. And I love this because I can get a thick enough line that I can fill that all in one pass, and I'm not having to go back and forth several times. And if I can just go as far as possible without picking it up, I seem to have a much smoother line than like trying to go back and forth and picking it up. All right. Okay, that was pretty painless. We got through that. And then like, I'm going to just go this little edge again. It was a little thinner. So there we go. I think that works pretty good. So now I'm going to go and do this up here. Now you're going to see I'm outside the line more because this is a thinner line. Now I could hold this a little more upright. And I'll get a little thinner line. But again, I'm not going to worry about it. And I will go in. I'm going to put bling on these little circles, but I'm just going to go in and give that a little bit of a metallic look too. And I don't have to do that, but I'm going to basically cover it up, but I'll just do that. That's optional. Maybe when I'm on my 10th tag, I may not be filling in all those little circles realistically. And let's see here. whatever I decide to do, I just want to be consistent. That's probably the biggest thing to remember. And I'll hold this up in a minute and you'll see that I'm a little bit outside the line. Again, it's okay. We're just looking at it so closely right now, but whoever gets it is probably not going to go and inspect everything that we've colored. Okay. And then down here, I'm just going to leave those for right now, just so we can get the rest of this colored. All right, now I need to decide how I'm going to color these gifts in. So I think, let's see here, on the blue, I pulled out a lighter blue Posca pen. This is light blue. And I'm going to use that for the ribbons and the bow. And I do love these pens because even though this paint is slick, it just goes on great. And when I do the bow, I'm going to just kind of dab around so I don't cover up all those lines because, again, the paint is opaque. So it will cover up the line. So I'm just going to try to kind of just go around. I may not get it perfect. I also think there's some little dots on there. And let me pull out my little darker blue. And this will be pretty subtle. This is called blue. Let's see, that's just a little darker. It probably won't be real noticeable. And you may not even be able to see that. But I'll hold that up in just a minute and let you look. Okay, so for my gold package, why don't we do that in purple? And same thing, I'm just going to go around now on this one. I will kind of just dot around that bow because I don't want to totally cover up those lines. But pretty quick and easy, and I'll just kind of, sometimes if I just kind of dab more than draw a line, it's easier to maintain some of those lines. And even if there's a little white left, that's okay. That would be like the light shining on the ribbon. And then I want to get those little bitty dots. There's some little dots. So you could bling those up. But again, if I'm just doing a gift card or just a card I'm going to mail, I'm just going to dot this with the gold Posca pen. Now, if this was going to be something that I'm giving a frame piece of, like, more or less kind of like art, then I think I would bling those up. And the last thing, let's use this gold on this round gift or this ball. And there's some stars there, and there's no way I'm going to be able to do the star. So I'm just going to dot in the center of the star. I'm not going to try to do the star shape. So there we go. Colored fairly fast. And I'm sure after doing 5 or 6 of these, I could be even faster. So now this is where I need to think how much bling. Oh, one last little tip. This part down here. I don't really want to have to cut out all of this in here. That would be extremely time consuming. So I just want to make that a little less apparent. So I'm going to just color that in quickly and simply. And I've got a couple choices. I want it to be kind of a dark gray or gray. So I'm going to use the Raider spray. Another thing that I could use is the Midnight Minks. Now the shimmering ink is going to have shimmer in it and the spray won't. So I'm just going to put some of this I don't need much in my palette, and I'm going to just give it 1 squirt of water, a couple squirts, just because I don't want it real intense. I just kind of want to make it blend into the background. So this should come out as a gray, and I'm just going to take my paintbrush, my thinner paintbrush, and just quickly go in there and paint around that. And then this is so much faster than trying to cut all of that out. Again, if I was doing something that I'm framing, I might take the time to cut this out. But to do that nice and neat, that would take a little time. So I will consider who it's going to. But if it's a card and a gift tag, I'm not going to take that time. And this just makes that white not so apparent. And this is quick and easy. And here I see I kind of got my finger in the wet Posca pen before it dried. So I'm just going to leave that. But if that really bothered me on this inside line, I could just take a black fine line marker and put that line back in. But again, when you're done with these, put them up, look at them again in another day, and see what you think. So this is where I'm going to think about what kind of bling, what am I going to do with this? And a lot of times I could use the crystals here. I could use diamond dots. If I'm going to do this for a card I'm doing many, many of, or a gift tag, I'm going to use these little dots. And these are on Damplistic's website. They're star form stickers, and they come in different sizes. And I am just going to fill all these little bitty circles in with them, so you can kind of determine what size. There's several different sizes here. I just want to make sure whatever size I pick, that I stay with the same size. And I love them because they're adhesive backed. So all I have to do is pick these up, and I can quickly go around and just lay those down. And then there's some bigger ones, so I will pull out the largest ones here and put them on this larger dot. And it doesn't totally cover it up, but again, you can see that shine. So that works perfect. And then, like, unfortunately, say this goes in the round bin after the holidays, the round file, i.e. the trash, which I know we hate to think about that. But this way, I haven't spent a fortune. And see, here I am. I think I'm getting this is where I get off and I get the wrong size. So at least I can pull that back up. Let's see here if I have another great big one. I don't. So let me just put this back. And now let me see if I can get back onto the size I was using previous. Here we go. But these are so easy just to pick up. If you have a finger knife, that works great to pick these up and just move them over from here to your project. This is one of those projects you could do while watching a holiday movie. Okay, so I would just continue going around. I would do the ones down along here as well. So you can see I didn't paint these down here, and it really makes no difference because I'm covering up. So really, I could have saved my time and not even filled those in if I didn't want with a Posca pen, because you're not really seeing the color underneath. So I would finish putting all these dots on, and then I would cut it out. Now, if I had the layering dies, I would have cut this out before I did the bling. And technically, I probably would have cut it out before I even started putting these on. But I don't have the layering dies, so I hand cut this out. And I've already done that. And I take the black marker and I do go around the outer edge just to define that again. And again, if I had kind of gone over the line, took some of that black out with a Posca, I'll take that marker and go around and put those black lines in. So now what can I do with this? Well, there's a couple things. I could put it on a card. So your standard card base, whatever you want to do. I could use it for a tag, and I made my own tag because this is pretty big. This is 4x6, and I don't have a die large enough. So it was easy enough just to cut that out. I took a border punch and just kind of made a fancier edge there, and then just measured down on each side and cut my corners and made my own tag, punched a hole. My ribbon I colored with the coloration spray, and all I need to do now is just adhere this. I would probably adhere it flat if it's going to go on a package, and then I can write to and from and a little note on the back. But that's a nice big colorful tag, and hopefully it's something someone would want to hang on to. Now, if I wanted to make a handmade gift, I could frame this, and then I would be putting probably crystals or diamond dots, something a little nicer for the bling, because I'm going to hope someone would keep this. Here's a frame. And the frame is when I colored previously with the Gilder's Paste Wax. Unfortunately, you're going to see I should have determined earlier I needed a larger frame. And I knew this ahead of time, but I thought I'm still going to show you this. So if you decide to do something like this, don't be like me. Measure this and make sure your frame is large enough before you go to put this in. But I'll get a larger frame and I'll take this to the store, pick out the right size frame, and then wax it up, adhere that, and I am ready to go. So thank you so much for joining me today, and I wish you all happy holidays as we start to enter that holiday season.